Hi everyone, this is Adam Jones with Agile Frameworks. We're very excited to offer today our third in our series of MetaField Educational Series webinars. Our first two on Forms and Report Builder were greatly attended by our client base, and we got great feedback from those. So we're happy to offer today's webinar on scheduling. Just one note from a housekeeping perspective, we will have a survey that will come out after this meeting. We would very much appreciate if everyone could fill out that survey to give your feedback not only on this webinar, but also to give us feedback on webinars you'd like to see in the future. We're doing this scheduling webinar based on customer feedback, asking for us to do this particular topic. So we take that very seriously. So if there's something within MetaField that you'd like a little bit more information on and like to be able to dig into a little bit deeper, please give us that feedback, and we'll certainly consider that very strongly as we move forward with future webinars. So today's presenter is going to be Julie Coda, our Director of Professional Services. She's going to walk through the scheduling module and show you all the ins and outs of that area of MetaField. So really appreciate your participation, and I'll hand it over to Julie.
Hi everyone, as Adam said, my name is Julie Coda. I have been with Agile Frameworks for 1 year now. Tomorrow is actually my anniversary. There's no need to send gifts. Your presence today is gift enough. So today we are going to cover the benefits of scheduling. We're going to go over new features that just came out. There was a lot of changes with 2.15. We're going to review common practices, look at technician and inspector availability, using pending field actions, and then at the end we're going to show you how to configure certifications, work items for certifications, and alerts. And we'll leave a little bit of time at the end for questions. But I do have in the room with me Brad and Joel. Most of you are familiar with them, and they are going to be monitoring our Q&A panel. So if you have any questions during this presentation, if you want to pop them into that panel, they will respond as they can. And at the end, we can review what we have time for of those too with the rest of us. So at a high level, the benefits of scheduling. You can schedule contracted work, so things you know of in advance, or ad hoc work. You can use scheduling to have placeholders for important events. You can schedule PTO for people as placeholders, or maybe you have like a vehicle maintenance, any of those kinds of things that you just want visibility in for the group. It offers seamless communication with your field personnel. So when we talk to clients, we hear a lot of back and forth with people trying to get things scheduled and canceled and moved around. Our system will do all of that communication for you. It'll also give you visibility into the capacity. It'll show you can go back and look at previous work that was done. And it also lets you see the certifications by your office staff. It really helps you maximize your productivity and align your experiences with your compliance, what they're certified in. It also gives you automatic follow-up work, so you can go and do retests for re-inspections and also sample collections. So real quick before we get into the demo, just a reminder that we are recording this session, and we'll send it out to the group after the training is completed. And then if you could please have your phones muted so that we don't get any feedback while we're recording, and enter any of your questions in that bottom chat bar. So we will go ahead and get into the system. So this is what it looks like when I log into the system. If you do not see this scheduling bar here, then you'll want to go into your admin or go to your MetaField coordinator and get that added for anybody that you want to have scheduling. So if you're not seeing it, you need to add it there. Before we get into scheduling, I just want to review. This is my login up here. If you have any questions after this session on scheduling, you can go to our help screen, and it'll bring up all of our help documentation. And then you can see there's help documentation here for scheduling. And this will walk you through everything that I covered today and go in more depth into what everything is. So make sure you make use of this page. And I'm going to revisit this a little later in our presentation. So going into scheduling, you'll notice if you're already using scheduling that a few things have changed. Now we just have one add work order button. There used to be two, but with the latest release, you'll only see one. You can still see all of our filters at the top here, and that's true for a lot of our pages. But what we now have is this ability to hide our filter bar and give you more real estate on your page. I'm going to just real quick add a work order so you can see what that looks like. Now, when you add a work order, you select your project after you enter this area. If you know your project number, you can filter on that, but it does bring up your most recent project. So I'm going to add the South Street Improvement Project. Here's your work items, and we'll go over these a little bit later too, but each of these work items, there's basically three types of work items. There's kind of placeholder work items, such as PTO, that doesn't have any underlying work assigned to it. And then there's our out-of-the-box work items that we refer to as discrete. And then the third are kind of activity work items, which you create yourself through our forms activity area. So you select whichever ones you want. Later we'll go through certifications. Some of these you can assign certifications to, which would make it a requirement when you get down to the bottom to have a certification. You can schedule reoccurring work. So if you want someone to go out on site on a regular basis, you can set it as reoccurring. I'm going to schedule something for today. These stars mean they're required fields. So I can set a requirement time for when I want them to show up on site, or I can set them as available. If I set them as available, those requirements go away. I'm going to go ahead and say that I want them on site this afternoon. And then I'm going to say how long I expect this work to happen. So I'm going to say 2 hours for this. When it comes down here to adding a technician, you can take a look at who's available, who's free on the schedule. If a certification is required, you can ask it to only show me who's certified for this type of work. You can, if you want consistency on your job site, you can say who's previously worked on this type of project. And you can also select a specific office that you want that technician to come from. So I'm going to go ahead and assign myself this work. And you can see there I am on the assignment. If you're taking it request by phone and you want to capture who's calling in that request, you can certainly put that information here. And then down here for notes for technician, these are standard notes that were applied to this project. At this point as a scheduler, I can come in and edit this information. So if I don't want them to see this as a technician, I can remove it. I can also add on to this. So I can add on more information there. These notes here are only for the scheduler. So we have some clients who might save this as a draft and then come back later to reschedule it. So you might have someone taking like maybe a dispatch phone call, and then the scheduler is going to actually assign the person later. So I could save this as a draft without a technician assigned. I can assign a technician and save it as a draft, but they're not going to know they're assigned yet. Or I can submit it straight to the technician. If I know I'm going to turn around and create one more of these right away, I can click this, create another. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and submit it to the technician. So that was how you add a work order there. If you come down here, you can see here's our different statuses, and we'll go down to our calendar here. So that work that I just added is now appearing. This is a standard thing too. If you're not seeing what you expect to see down here, you might have a filter applied. So coming down to our calendar, you can see there's green, there's yellow, these bars here. If you go up to your status, you can see what's applied here. So if I did save only draft work orders and now I want to get them assigned, I can filter by just the draft. And now I can see which work orders I need to go ahead and assign out. We just added the ability to have a canceled work order stay on the schedule. And what that does is allow you to go back and see which work was canceled by either your client or possibly because of weather, and get those works reassigned, or if you're charging for work that was canceled, it gives you the ability to keep track of those things. If you look in the corner here, these symbols mean that this is reoccurring work that was scheduled. So you have the ability here to see the work listed out either by month, by week, or by day. If I push today, I can click 2 to just always go back to today, so it's an easy back and forth. I'm going to go ahead and close our filters here. The next view we have is called a list view. This gives you the ability to really work in bulk. As you're a scheduler, you have a lot of work out here. So if I have someone who calls in sick, I can go ahead and filter by them in this area very easily, and then I can select their work. It does allow you to change status in bulk. So if you want to accept all the work or cancel all the work for a certain project, you can do that in bulk. I can change the technician. So if this person's called in sick, I can go ahead and change the technician to myself. And I can do that for multiple work at a time. These columns are all sortable. So if you click on the top, you can see this one is sorted by date. And I can reverse sort it. And then the third click will remove that filter. So you can print work orders in bulk here by selecting them and printing them. You can print all work orders. You can change the status. So if you want to change it from submitted to accepted in bulk, you could do that. You can change the technician in bulk. And new now is this import work orders. So if you're using an ancillary system for your project information and you want to upload bulk work orders, we now have the ability to do that. This is an example of our import file, and I know this looks very busy, but you can see if I spread this out, you would be able to see each of these fields, and you can load all your information in. This is a CSV file, and then when you import it here, you can find that file, select it, and then you can do a test just to make sure it's going to work, and then you can do an execute after to make sure it's filled in. These are all the fields that are required for that import, but I'm going to show you here, going back to our help screen, we were under scheduling. Here is an outline of all of those fields that are required, what their format type is, what the description of those fields are, and it's all outlined here, what's required and what's not. And then at the bottom of this is an actual CSV file you could use as your template. So you can download this from our website, complete that document, that CSV file, and then use that as your import. For importing, you have the ability to import without a technician assigned to that work. And then you can also not have work items assigned. So it could just be a shell of the work that you know needs to happen. And then you can assign work items in bulk. So that means those buttons that I clicked while we were creating a work order, where you can say, I want a JSA and I want a density test done for this work. And you have the ability to do that in bulk also. So the last button we have, I'm going to filter so we don't have as many, technicians come up, and we sit and spin, waiting for it to load. So I'm going to filter for just Agile to reduce the number of technicians, and then I'm going to go to the technician view. So you can see at the top, any of the unassigned work now appears at the top. So you can know what work is unassigned and get it assigned. And we're just loading here for technicians. That's new with this release too, how they appear at the top.
Change your office to technician office instead of project owning office.
Okay. Okay. We'll do technician office. Oh, it's still trying to load. Hold on 1 second. Okay.
And then clear the other one. There we go.
All right. So now you can see the unassigned work is at the top, and here's the list of my technicians that I have to schedule. When I hover over this, it will list out what the work items are for this particular work, and I can drag this down to get it assigned. I can submit it to the technician in this work, or I can just save it as a draft. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and submit it. Again, I have the view that I can have a week's worth of work or just 1 day. And you can move between weeks by clicking these side buttons here. The same is true when you're working on the large calendar view. All of these items are, you are able to drag and drop these items as you move them around if you choose to do it that way. So let's see. We're going to go to the list view here. We do have the ability to edit any of these by clicking in there. You can add work items, and I can go in here and change any of these statuses. So you can see Joel and Adam are both assigned. If I want to change their status, I have that ability too. So if Joel calls me and says he doesn't have access to change his status, but he's accepted the work, I can accept it for him on his behalf. I'm going to update all that are assigned, so both Joel and Adam have accepted. The other nice feature is if I know I want to do this work again, I can come into this same work item and hit copy work order, and it'll allow me to copy that and then submit it to technicians or save as draft. And I can do any of the edits here for the new date, the new time that I want that work done. When you see this here, that means it's a linked work order. So with this new release, we do have the ability to assign multiple people to a work. So you can see if I go into this draft work order, right now it just has Joel assigned. If I add a second technician, I'm going to update all to submitted and then save. Now when we go to look at that work in the calendar, you'll see these links. So what it does is create a second work item. One is assigned to Joel and one is assigned to me, but they're both related to each other. So they both have the same work order number. That allows me to reassign a different technician if I need to, or move them around separately. We also have the ability to now list up to 100 work items. That was new with this release. So you can look at a lot more items in the list. So we'll go real quick. That was kind of our scheduling overview. We also have our pending field actions. So we mentioned that we would review pending field actions. Here's our top filter. Like our other pages, you can create a filter and save it. And you do have the ability now to collapse those filters. Coming down here, you can see pending field actions do list out by discipline and type. So we have density, concrete, grout, and mortar, activities, and samples that are out in the field. So you can click on any one of these to see what kind of pending field actions are available for each of these areas. You can see we have 86 density tests that need to be rescheduled. So that means that something failed and needs to be retested. So you can select any of these. These two are both the same project, South Street improvements. So if you wanted to reschedule these, you could click on both of them and add them to a work order. And now you can see that the density retest is selected automatically in this work. You could add other things to happen while they're doing this if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and select tomorrow's date and put them out there in the morning for that retest. And I think the retest will take 2 hours. In this case, I'm going to change who's assigned to Joel. Oops, I didn't remove Andrew. Okay. And then when you come down here, you can see the note for technician gives him the information about the first test that was done. So this is a retest of the soil nuclear gauge, test 70, originally tested by Andrew on 8/2 of last year. And I'm going to go ahead and submit that to the technician. And now you can see we went from 86 to schedule down to 84 to schedule. Samples are going to be samples that need to be picked up in the field. If someone knew that that sample needed to be picked up and they went ahead and did it without being scheduled and let you know that that was done, you do have the ability to come in here and delete this item. Hitting delete does not remove it from the system. It just removes it from this view of scheduling. So if you have any tests that you know were already redone or samples that were already picked up, any of these items, you can delete them from this view just to clean up your view, but it won't remove them from the system. So that is pending field actions. So real quick, we're going to go into administration and just show you how certifications are configured. So again, going back to our help screen, it's under our general section. So when you get in your help screen, if you have questions about certification, you want to go to the general section here and then look at certification. I'm sorry, it's under admin general, then certifications. So we'll go ahead into certifications. So you can see this is our sandbox area, and we have a lot of certifications already set up here. So what the top is the certification. So let's say you have a specific safety training that you guys do that you want to track. You can add that as a certification. It's just internal to you, but you want to, as technicians, receive that safety training. You want to add them into the group. And I probably should have picked something with the A on it, so it would have been at the top of the list. Oops. So here's my safety training. Okay. So I'm going to add myself into
But you already have a certification.
Oh.
So find yourself there.
Okay, so here I am. That's why. Okay, so I already have this list, and you can see this symbol means that I have multiple certifications already. If I click on this list, it'll show what my certifications are. Oh, I'm certified in donut certification. That's great. So if I want to add a certification, I can go here and click New Certification. I can select that safety one that I just added, add my certificate number, and then also add in my expiration date. So I would punch this out a ways, and then click Save. And what that does then is notify, as you're scheduling, if you say someone needs to have a certification, when that expires, it will warn you as you try to add them in for that work that their certification has expired. And then the last part of the certification setup is to go into the work items that require certification. So when you click on the work items here, if let's say this JSA requires a certification, you would go here, the type of certification, let's say is that safety training, you would click that, and then and then click Add. Then as you schedule that type of work, it will, when you click on that you want a certified person for that type of work, it will only bring up the people that have that certification. Since I just added it right now, it would only bring up me as being a certified person for JSA. So I think that covers everything. I'm going to open it up. Brad or Joel, is there anything else that you can think of that we should review?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Are there any questions that we had on the phone that you want to review?
We had a couple come through the chat, but this is Brad here, everybody. I would say if you have any other questions, I think most of you have are able to contact Joel and I. Feel free to reach out to us later on after the webinar, or we can still see these through the chat, and we can get back to you later on too. So whatever's convenient for you if you have questions.
Okay. All right. Well, just a reminder, we are going to send out a survey after this, after the webinar is complete. If you could take some time and just give us some ideas of other things you'd like to see. We will be scheduling another webinar here in probably 6 to 8 weeks, I would guess, is our typical time frame. So just let us know what you think and we'll try to get those things scheduled. Thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.